Okay, please can we perhaps start just with a brief introduction, or for those that know you, a reminder of the network group, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Peter Strahan. I'm member director for Network Group, and Network Group is a run for and by the various members, which makes it unique in the industry. And we're a group of MSPs, retailers that exist, and we're 31 years old as a collective, which I think is quite amazing. And the value that we bring is obviously the peer community that everybody is part of. But we also bring in a lot of partners and vendors, and they are able to share their stories to ensure that our members are kept up to speed with the latest and greatest things that are happening within the industry. And I suppose the whole point of it is to come together, to grow together, and to have a strength in numbers, which is our kind of catchphrase, I suppose.
Okay, and in terms of recent news, I mean, we're going to talk about the 3-year growth strategy in a minute, but first up, I think you fairly recently appointed a new business development manager, and it'd just be good to understand that. When you say new, is that to replace an existing one? Is it a new role? Just the background to that appointment, if you like.
Yeah, I think a lot's changed. The group has been incredibly successful over the last 31 years. And it has had to mature as it's grown, like any organization. And the decision was made a little bit over a year ago with a new board coming on that we would create dedicated roles for various necessities within the group. So I became a member director. There wasn't a specific member director before. The board was quite small. The board has now grown to ensure that every important part of the organization is represented by a dedicated person. And as part of that, we've now appointed a member BDM who is there to represent the members, to ensure that they're extracting the value out of the membership and that they're heard, and that content, that the information that they provide back it finds its way back into being content that's required to keep the education going, but also to ensure that their members are extracting all the benefits of their membership. And that leads quite nicely then into obviously growing the membership. We've been growing steadily over the years, and it's important that as we look to our strategy going forward in the next 3 to 5 years, that we're able to have the structure that's going to allow us to achieve that goal.
Okay, yeah, and to that point, I believe since the start of 2025, you've already welcomed, I think it's 6 new member organisations. So that continuous growth is working. Yep.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. As I say, year on year. I suppose the MSP industry itself is a wash with companies that have. And a lot of these companies have been maybe set up by reluctant entrepreneurs, I always say. Many of those people were techies that have got into solving problems for companies large and small, and then found themselves at the helm of running a company. And I think for a lot of those solopreneurs, they find themselves quite isolated. And that's why bringing this community together, it means they have a group of peers to be able to share and learn from, which is really, really important. And we can see that in the growth in the numbers, that the applications and the people who are looking to join has certainly gone up. And that's obviously necessitated with a dedicated resource to be able to look after that what we call a pipeline effectively. But we want the right members. And as I said before, this is not a commercially led organization. It's a member-led organization. So it's really important that the type of companies that are part of the group are constructive. They're coming to the events, and they're not just there for any commercials through the buying power that we have as a group, as a community with various partners. It's really important that those members who come along are constructive and that they engage with the other members and tell their story. And I for one, have got huge value from sharing a pain or an issue that we may be having as an organization, and frequently somebody else will come up and say, "Oh yeah, I had that issue 6 months ago or a year ago," and that spirit of openness and collaboration. And while we may be 30, sorry, we won't be 31 years, but while we might be, over 90 members, and competitors across the UK and Ireland, the spirit of collaboration and helping one another is just phenomenal. It's unique within groups. I don't see it to the openness and to the degree in other groups that I see it within Network Group, and that in itself is quite inspiring.
Okay, yeah, and you've announced, I think this, well, no, I think, no, this 3-year growth strategy,
Yeah.
with the objective, if you like, to elevate the impact of the organisation. And I think there's a sort of two-pronged approach there. So you're looking to elevate the member experience and also help to influence, shape how the channel it develops. So perhaps you can just talk to both the sort of for the member experience and then how you want to help, impact on the channel itself.
Yeah, it's multifaceted, right? So, but the key growth is to ensure that we hit that 150 odd members within the next 3 years, if not more. It's a bold ask, that puts certain demands on the management team and the staff within Network Group. They run 4 amazing events every year. And we've just had a gala in Manchester, and those events take an awful lot of planning and work to ensure that they are a very positive experience over the couple of days that we're together. So yeah, there's an awful lot of work. It's easy to say that we want to grow the organization to 150 members, but the amount of work that has to go in behind that to ensure we achieve that is really, really important. But the other side of it is, and something that I'm very passionate about, and I've kind of said it before, is about the collaboration. It's about lifting everybody in terms of maturity of operations, and being that support group for those people who, for all organizations. If you're an MSP that's at 1 million turnover, equally if you're an MSP at 10 million turnover, you've got to have a place within the organization, and that also pushes us to make sure that we have content and we have partners that ensure resonate with those organizations at the various different stages of their growth. So what we've done is we're now bringing in benchmarking. So the members are able to understand where they are in terms of financial benchmarking. We're going to use what we call the service leadership, which is owned by IT Nation ConnectWise. They have some of the best data in the market. And that's going to allow us now to provide that information back to members to say, this is where you are, and this is what's achievable. And for them to map out that journey for their growth. And then equally, we're doing a strategic partnership with IT Nation Evolve, which is their accountability groups. That's going to allow members to come together as a de facto board for other MSPs and work together, collaborate, and ensure that their businesses are growing. And we welcome all peer groups. I think that's really important. It doesn't matter what peer group you're a part of, but it's just to spearhead that growth and to ensure that MSPs are within Network Group are abreast of the latest developments and requirements and certifications and compliance requirements that our market has been exposed to, and that they grow and they become a safe place for their customers to be part of and who they serve. But it's also really important that the outcomes for those MSP owners, that when the time comes that they want to be able to pass on the business or they want to be able to move on, that they have got an asset. They've got something that they put their lives work into, that ensures that when the time is right, that they have something to pass on to, whether they want to pass it on to family or they want to sell the organization, whatever it might be, but that it's in the right location, it's in the right health, and it's ready to be sold, and they can then move on to the next chapter in life, and to ensure that they haven't worked all their lives and then figured out that there's nothing at the end of that hard work. So it's really important so we look at that growth strategy over the next three years. It's about growing the organization, which is key. It's about growing that relationship with our vendors and our partners. And it's also really important to grow the education and the maturity within our industry, and to provide a voice and to be a voice in our industry to the wider community, and to show and demonstrate what we do and what good looks like, I suppose, as well, particularly at the advent of increased compliance and security requirements across all organizations.
Yeah, and just on that education point, are you sort of, is it broad coverage? So you're looking at both sort of the business side of things and explaining sort of, yeah, we can't have a conversation about IT these days without AI cropping up, for example. So you helping people understand technologies that are coming, et cetera, and opportunities, or yeah, just give us some flavor of what the educational content will or is covering.
Yeah, I think the organization has to grow itself. So it's really important that the figureheads of the people within the organization are growing themselves, personally and professionally. And I think one thing that we've introduced over the last year has been tracks, specific tracks. So rather than for the network group attracting the principles of an organization and that information being been shared at a principal level, we've created tracks. So we've now created specific tracks for marketing, for sales, for account management, for service operations. And what that encourages is that the member businesses now bring their head of operations, or head of sales, head of marketing, so that they now have, we call it a sub peer group, and they meet in person at one event a year, but they have monthly check-ins as well. So they meet monthly virtually through Teams or Zoom or whatever technology, and they build up their own collaboration, so that the member organization is being strengthened, not just at the principal level, but at the operational level as well. So the whole organization is growing. And then, yes, through the latest technology and trends. So we mentioned AI, and there's a huge demand of AI right now. But I think you've got to temper that with, are these businesses ready for AI? And what we're seeing an awful lot is that a lot of companies are exploring AI and they're bringing AI into their organizations. And you've got the principles, or you've got there's a strategy to have AI, and they start buying licenses and put them into the business, not realizing that the data is not ready for that. So they have 10 years worth of legacy data sitting in a file store or in SharePoint or somewhere else. And no one's really done a check to what permissions are on that data. Somebody might have put the wrong data in the wrong location. And what Copilot does is it accelerates the sharing of that data effectively, or the discovery of that data maybe. And if there's data that's not shouldn't be in that particular location, particularly HR data or maybe some other financial data, that can cause serious problems in an organization. So it is building that best practice muscle, and advising the organizations, the members, to help them then have that discussion and communicate with their clients on how to approach AI effectively. And the same thing is for cybersecurity, same thing is for compliance, same thing for automation or PA, and any other topic that may not be as hot as AI, but certainly really, really important within the sphere of the commercial world.
Okay, and just on the collaboration side, just to clarify, is it sort of informal in the sense that if a member organization, has a problem, or if they can just sort of post that and somebody else can join in, or are you sort of actively trying to create a more proactive, shall we say, collaboration where you're either building up, starting projects to try and encourage people to collaborate, or saying, do you want to collaborate about this or whatever, or just how does the collaboration work, if you like?
So the collaborations really worked at a lot of the events in person. So we had a small issue around just effective recruitment. I met it a number of years ago, and I remember sitting at a table at lunch with some lovely food in a hotel somewhere, and I was moaning to another member about my woe. And they said to me, "Oh, you need to talk to this person." And we did talk to that person, and that person has had a major impact in terms of how our approach to recruitment. It's made a huge difference in our business. So there's a lot of informal, and that has been the mainstay. There's been a huge amount of informal collaboration at events. Now, equally, we've got a very, very active Slack and WhatsApp community, and that also, the amount of questions that are put into that and discussions that happen in that. So there is a there is a really active engagement from members around issues or pain points or even advice or what's happening in the industry, and that could be something like, oh, there's a particular vulnerability somewhere and the techies need to know about this, or there's a particular outage that is happening and they need to know this, or it could be a particular commercial opportunity. It could be anything. But yes, fundamentally what we're doing, Philip, going forward is creating actually dedicated time and space at our events where businesses can come together around tables, and they will be prompted and they will be encouraged to share issues or development plans or whatever it might be, to ensure that they have time to come together and grow as organizations. And that's happening in two facets, where organizations who are starting out on that journey, who are getting into benchmarking, particularly so financial benchmarking, will facilitate those round tables to the member organizations. And there'll be various workshops created. There'll be some best-in-class operational content. There'll be some HR, some finance. There'll be a topic that we will go through. And then equally, then there'll be space for those people who are part of an accountability group. There'll be separate space for those more intimate, say, for 8 or 9 members to come together and follow a pre-scripted track in terms of operational maturity. So it really caters for where you are in your growth, where you are in what you want from your outcome of your business, to determine which one you might go into. But yes, so while there's a huge amount of informal collaboration and community, now there is going to be a more structured engagement where people come together within a defined space, a defined time, to allow those people communicate and collaborate and hopefully grow. And that's really key to grow the maturity and to grow the knowledge and hopefully the benefit those organizations when the time is right, if they want to move on and go to the next chapter of commercial or personal life.
Okay, and you've referenced the events you organise a couple of times. So, and I know fairly recently you had your flagship event in Manchester.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess it'd just be good to know sort of how that went. Were there any particular highlights? And I suppose importantly, the feedback you got from members. I mean, are there any particular challenges and or opportunities that came out, that became obvious from the event you had?
Yeah, so the gala is a superb event. There is 3-day content. So the day before, we will have a particular session on a particular topic. So this year we had Mit Patel, who is an expert in sales, sales structure for sales teams, strategies and all that. And we had an amazing attendance at that. A lot of organizations coming together to kind of learn and refresh. How do they approach sales? What does best in class look like? What does good look like in terms of how I should structure those types of departments, and even down to compensation and various other bits and pieces. So that was held on the first day, and then everybody tends to come in that evening if they're not attending that session. And the next day, then we kick off with member business in the morning. So because it's a member-owned organization, everything has to be presented in terms of what's happened in the last quarter, be it financial, be it new members, be it any updates that are happening across the business. So each director would have some time in that slot to be able to present what's happening to the membership. So the membership we kept up to date at all times. And then we'd head into specific content that would have been curated from a need or a desire or a want from the membership. And we've had some fantastic people this year around. I think Huntress did a session on terms of what an experience of one of the companies that was there. Sanomi presented their approach to cybersecurity management, policy management, a kind of a virtual CISO platform, really, really interesting platform. And many other companies, ConnectWise was there, a lot of great companies there. And they're able to give their update on the marketplace and to ensure that members are kept up to date. And then we get into Some really good sessions. Both we bring in some specialists externally, and also members can tell their story. So we had some really good sessions around, staff retention. Some, a we've seen a lot of organizations struggle with retention across all industries since COVID. I think it's changed the work dynamic. So we had some with some really good content around some experiences that some member organizations have done around that particular topic. We had really good speaker, Lena, who was presenting on best in class recruitment, and she had a great session. So and then we would go back into, we have a vendor hall, which we have all of our partners in a very large vendor hall to allow some time with members with the vendors to discuss all the latest and greatest things that are happening in the industry. And then we have an amazing gala, so a huge room, a formal black tie, and then we have some awards, and we do a lot of work for charity. We raised I think £16,500, and it's probably still going, so don't quote me on the actual number, but some amazing fundraising done on the night as well, and then some raffle prizes and various other bits and pieces. So but the main announcements were ensuring that the group is growing, what's happening, what's the plans for the organization over the next 2 years, 3 years. Some new member benefits. So we've now brought in a new membership tier, which gives members access to an extra night in the hotel, ensuring that the track, so when they bring an extra person, that person now can come to those to the events, and they don't have to pay additional fees for those as part of the membership. And then obviously then the peer-led tracks that I spoke about earlier on, that's all part of the new membership tier. And so really trying to ensure that it is as simple as possible and as clear as possible for everybody who's part of the organization, and that we all grow and row together as a community.
Okay, it's been great to chat and share some brilliant insights into what's going on at the organization and in the industry more generally. So, Peter, really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Philip.